social studies. We are talking about, Cadence, we are talking about page 124 in our textbook, social studies textbook. And then we are going to do an activity on page 65 of our manual. So 65 in the manual and 124 in our textbook. All right, so American communities. Let me just double check to make sure, to 127, yes. All right, who would like to start reading on page 124? Olivia.
Americans continued to move westward. They moved from the east settlement in the west. They settled in different places and developed communities. A community is a place where people live and work together. Americans lived in two kinds of communities. One
Urban.
urban and
Rural. Rural, I can't say, is country. Agriculture. And urban is city, like Madison would be considered urban. So, can you please sit down? Thank you. So, that is a different. Now, by that, what I just described, what would you think would be what we just read about in our book? Would that be urban, big city, or country? Jonathan? Yeah. Maybe eventually where they were at turned into more of an urban area. So let's read the next chapter. Who would like to read that? Cole.
An urban community is usually called a city. New York, Philadelphia, and New Orleans were the largest American urban communities at that time. Cities have many people, jobs, buildings, and all kinds of things.
All right. Who would like to read the next? Go ahead, Em.
A rural community is outside the city.
Right.
Houses are farther apart. At that time, many people in rural areas were farmers. The towns in rural communities are smaller than cities. Today, most rural communities have schools, churches, and stores.
So, would Madison be considered urban or rural? James? Urban. Yes. No, I'm thinking Mount Horeb. Oh, hello.
So sorry.
Now, Mount Horeb would be, I don't really consider it rural, but it kind of is because there's a lot of agriculture there. But it is a city as well, but it's not a huge city. Grayson, please bring me a straw and coal. This is like the third time I've had to say something to you during class time. So that's a bummer because no more pom-poms today. Grayson, I do not want you turning around and bothering people anymore. You've been doing it all day. You kind of got your friend Cole into trouble because you physically turned around and talked to him. Now, Cole being nice, he talked back with you when he shouldn't have, but you need to stop. Do you understand? Are we in class time? Are we outside? When we are in class time, we are in class time. When we are outside, it's a whole different ballgame. But I am not going to stand up here and talk and teach and you chitty chat with your friends. That's rude and disrespectful. I realize, friends, that we're ending the school year. And the warmer the weather gets and the closer that end date approaches, it's going to be harder and harder to focus. However, exclamation point. We need to do our best in being respectful to one another. Do not turn around and talk to your friend. Listen. Be respectful to not only me, but the people around you who are trying to listen and you're talking. That goes for all of you. I know we're tired. Mrs. Reed is tired today too. However, I am still up here talking. So please, let's be respectful to one another. Everyone's a little emotional, having a hard time. I get it. Let's just say a prayer and ask for some strength, okay? Because I feel like we're all kind of in a funky spot. Heavenly Father, we're just coming to you and we're asking for your help and your guidance and your strength. We need you to help us to be better at what we're doing, to be strong, to be kind to one another. We're having a difficult time with certain things. And I know that happens when we get tired and we get cranky and it's Monday and it's hot in here and we don't want to listen. We want to be outside playing. I get it. I really do. But help us to be strong. Amen. Because it is hot in here. It is. Jeremiah, can you open that door a little more? It's stuffy and it makes us cranky and I get it. But is that an excuse to be disrespectful? Nope. Emotions are getting high. People are getting tired and crabby and snarky. And I get it. I understand. But that doesn't mean we can be disrespectful and unkind to one another. Okay? We're going to have to really dig in, friends, and work really hard to finish this year strong. We have a lot to do. We have a lot of fun things coming up, but we need to finish strong. Do you understand what I mean by that? All right? That means you have to buckle in. You have to work hard. Even when there are days where you don't feel like it. That makes us better people and makes us stronger. And you're going to learn a lot more if you try. Harder versus goofing around. All right, so communication. What is communication, friends? What does it mean when I say communication, Wenxing?
It's like you talking to someone else.
Yes. What are ways that we talk to one another? What do we use to communicate? Olivia?
By texting.
By what? Texting. Yes, texting. I see a lot of that. What is the other way we communicate? Toby? Talking face to face. We use our what? Yeah, our words. What is another way we communicate? Grayson?
Hand signals?
Yes, hand signals. I'm thinking of like a baseball game or some kind of a sporting event where they have their like secret codes and so forth. Or what is if somebody is missing some kind of a 5 cents and they have to use their hands? What am I referring to? Christian. Yes. So if you can't hear, you have to use different ways to communicate. And if you can't see, you have to use different ways to communicate. Does anybody know how a blind person reads? Cole?
So the books, instead of having words, they have like little bumps.
Yeah, it's Braille. And it's amazing. Has anyone ever seen a book of Braille? It's pretty amazing that they can read that. But they can. So that's how they communicate. Yes, Helen Keller is a prime example of that. Thank you, Olivia. What about, hello? Yes. You want me to pick up some milk? Okay. What did I just do? How did I communicate? Ella? A phone. Oh, gosh. Excuse me one moment. I need to communicate. How am I communicating? Jonathan, email, using my computer. There's lots of ways to communicate. Does anyone have any other? Emmy, writing a letter. Tyson,
Going on FaceTime or Zoom.
going on FaceTime or Zoom. Zoom, yes.
But they take you on.
Could do without Zoom for the rest of my life after this year. Yes, Helen, on your tablet. So to communicate, there's a lot of different ways we communicate with one another. So let's read now, like back in the day of our book, when they're out in the middle of nowhere, they don't have these.
Sadly.
No, or they don't have computers. How did they communicate? Christian.
A telephone?
No, they didn't have telephones back then. No telephones. Isn't that crazy? No telephones at all. Cole.
Like you could either go there or like if there are no post office,
Yeah.
you could go there.
Yes. So really, there's only two options. You would either physically go somewhere and talk to them face to face, or eventually, as these settlers would make more towns, there would be a post office. But it took a while. And then if you did write a letter, say that our people in our book lived in Nebraska and their family was in Illinois, it would take a long time to get a letter from Nebraska to Illinois. A long time. And there was no Amazon, friends. So sad.
Yeah, pooey.
So, very, very different world. So let's read about our communication. This is probably, this is a little more established than what we read in our story. Our story, they just were in very secluded areas in Nebraska where they were the only ones there. An hour away was their neighbor. So this is where, if you take this book and probably add maybe 10 years, that's where we are now in our textbook, okay? Just to give you a understanding, that book actually was perfect for what we're talking about. All right, who would like to read about communication? Emma.
Communities in America grew. As Americans spread across the continent, they wanted to be connected. People moved far from their families. They needed more post offices to send and receive letters. The mail also brought newspapers. People in different places could read about what is going on in the world. Both urban and rural communities had a poster.
Very good. Another thing, the whole newspapers, TV, movies, those are all ways to communicate ideas, correct? Yes. So, yes, they were just saying they wanted to communicate with families who were far apart, like our family in the story. Lived very far away from their families, very secluded, very lonely. And at this time, they didn't even have a way to send a letter. So that would be really, really difficult. All right, transportation. What is transportation? Jonathan. All right, well so yes, it's moving, but what is transportation? What is the way they get to point A to point B? Jonathan. Canals. Yep. What else do we need for good transportation? Tyson.
Oceans and rivers and the Great Lakes.
Yes. What do we need to use? Do we swim? Walk?
We use boats.
We use boats. Yes. So the boat is a transportation. Cool. Wagons. M. An airplane. Grant. Car. Choo choo. Boy.
Train?
A train. Grant. Helicopter. Luke.
Bus.
A bus. Grayson. Feet. Yes, our good old feet. The great mode of transportation. Grant. Gabe. A jet. Emma. Bike. Olivia. A horse, of course. Oh, Emmy.
Just animals?
Animals in general. I have a lion that I drive. That would be so fun. Okay, I think we got it. Let's move on so we have time to do our work. So you all get the idea what transportation is.
Yeah.
Now, what was the basic mode of transportation? I should just keep this book over here. For our book, the people in our book, what was their main way they got from point A to point B? Tyson?
On
Wagons. Using what? A motor, battery operated motor? What did they use? Yes. Or a horse. Or their feet. Not a lot of options. Not a lot of options at all. So, if you think about from here to now, wow. A lot of changes. All right, so on 125, transportation. Wensheen, why don't you read the first paragraph?
People from rural communities sold crops to people in urban communities. To move these crops, people needed good transportation. But building and taking care of roads cost a lot of money. Wagons carried goods but were slow and expensive. Transporting or moving goods by water were cheaper and faster. But few rural communities in the Northwest were located by a river that flowed into a big city.
All right, so first of all, who's making all the ruckus? Needs to stop. All the crashing around. I don't know what's going on, but it sounds like a herd of elephants back there. We need to stop. It's somebody's desk. I don't know what somebody was doing, but it was very loud. All right, so why was transporting by water quicker and cheaper than versus land, Tyson?
You could just get a boat and you could just go onto one of the canals or rivers.
Or lakes?
Get the point B to point
It's
A
easier.
to point B.
And you can take a lot more versus this. Not a lot can be carried in a wagon because you got to have the people in there too. So not a lot of goods. So if you could load this onto a big raft or a boat, you could carry a lot more. So, and this is so much slower, the wagon is so slow. So the boat or a raft can go much quicker. What is happening? Why is all this banging happening? Someone needs to stop. Whoever's doing this needs to stop. Friends, really. All right, next paragraph. McKenna.
Government leaders in New York thought of a way to make water transportation easier. They built an
Erie Canal.
Erie Canal to connect the Great Lakes and the Atlantic Ocean. A canal is a man-made waterway that connects two bodies of water. Most canals are shallow. They are at least 4 feet deep. Transporting goods from the east became cheaper.
All right, so if you look at that map on the bottom of 125 and you see all of those red lines, those are all canals. So those are all, where do all of them lead to for the most part? They lead to what? They start on land and end where? They connect to what? Helen? A river, or I am looking at a lot of them. So let's just take one for instance. The one near us, or kind of by us, in Chicago, most specifically LaSalle. You see a red line that goes from LaSalle. Does everybody see that? Where does it end? Olivia? Lake Michigan. All right, so Lake Michigan. Now let's look at Evansville. That goes up to the Wabash and Erie to Toledo. Where does that lead? Where does that end? Ella? Lake Erie. All right, let's look at the one in Portsmouth near the Ohio River. And it goes up Ohio and Erie is the canal. Where does that end? Helen? No. Starting at Portsmouth. And it's called the Ohio and Erie Canal. Where does that end? Do you see it? Portsmouth is, if you look at Cincinnati, it is west of Cincinnati. Helen? Do you see Portsmouth? Okay, where does that end? If you follow that Ohio Erie Canal, where does that end? You go up, actually. It looks like it's going up. What is the body of water it ends at? Emmy? Lake Erie. What is the trend that's going on here? What is going on? They starts in the middle of, it's landlocked. It starts. They build a canal. Where does the canal lead to? Cole. The Great Lakes. And the Atlantic Ocean. If we look over at in Boston, there is a canal that goes from, it's landlocked. It doesn't say where it starts, but it ends at the Atlantic Ocean. So the water is the key, correct? All these rivers, all these canals are intertwined in all these landlocked areas in order to do what? What is the purpose of these canals? The main purpose is to do what? Yes. Because what does that transportation allow people who are selling goods, trading, commerce, what is that helping them to do more efficiently, James?
Make more money.
Yes. Making things more efficient. And when things are more efficient, then they can make more money. So that is the purpose of these early canals. There's a lot of them. A lot of them that were built. All right, let's finish up. Ohio, Indiana, and Pennsylvania also built canals. Soon canals connected much of the Northwest to the Northeast. People and trade easily moved back and forth. Well, that's another thing too, just people being able to go back and forth was much better. So they could get to other people, to their families quicker by using a canal. So it was a win-win for all. Inventions. What is an invention? If you invent something, what does that mean? Or not, it's not invent, yeah. Yes. Olivia.
It's like something that somebody made that is still used.
Yes. So if they make something, does that mean that they made something that was new and never made before? Yes. Correct. Americans are known to be very inventive. So that is something that the early Americans started a very great tradition. All right, so let us read under page 126. Who would like to start? Boy, first paragraph. And where it says trains.
Okay. Canals were not the only change in transportation. The invention of the steam engine made moving people and goods easier. The type of engine was powered by steam. The steam engine was used in machines like boats and trains.
So do you think trains and steam engine boats made transportation a lot quicker?
Yes.
Yes. Huge. All right. Who would like to read the next paragraph? Christian, where it says steamboat, and then I guess you just read to the end of page 126.
Okay. The steamboat changed how people and goods traveled. Before the steamboat, mostly
Boats mostly.
carried goods down the river in the direction the top
Flowed.
flowed. Carrying goods against the river current was harder. However, steamboats were more powerful because they had steam engines. Steamboats easily moved against rivers. Steamboats
Oh, moved against a river
um,
current.
now people and goods went up and down rivers. Steamboats became the important part of America. They helped
America's transportation.
transportation. They helped Western
Settlement.
settlement and trade.
All right. Let's read the next one and then we can discuss how important trains and steamboats were. All right, who wants to read about trains? Emmy, very loud. Read the first paragraph, please.
Trains powered by the steam engine made railroad possible. Railroad added a faster and cheaper way of transportation. They were also
Reliable. Snow. Snow, flood, drought.
In times the railroads became the main base of transportation.
Very good. All right, so trains and steamboats. Steamboats and trains. Steamboats in the water, trains on land. Opened up the whole transportation to a level that was astonishing because it was quick, it was reliable, it was dependable because it did, especially with the train, it didn't matter what the weather was. It could go through storms, rain, it doesn't matter. And our rail system, I mean, you think about how they made the railroads across the Rocky Mountains. Amazing. But once they were able to do that, it opened up the transportation at a level that never existed before. As with the boats, steamboats. When we talk about currents, they talked about how before steam engine, they had to go flow downriver, follow the currents. What is a current? Tyson.
A rush of water which is very strong that pulls things.
Very good.
And if we didn't have our steamboats, but if we didn't want it to go over here and there was a current, our boat would just go.
Yep, the boats, everything is carried by these currents. And like if you're talking about the Mississippi River, the currents are extremely, extremely strong. And so now these steam engines can go against the current and they can go upstream, they can go downstream, they can go wherever they want, which is never done before steam engines were created. So transportation is starting to boom, which means the United States is going to boom because there are more opportunities of growth. All right, with that said, let us open to page 65. Now you're going to use 24 and 27. What are the two kinds of communities? I need everyone to focus. What are the two kinds of communities? And they would be found on page 124. James. And rural. Yes. Urban meaning city, rural meaning country, agriculture. So if you were to go down the urban, it is usually called a what? If you are in an urban area, you are in a city or country. M.
City.
Yes. So look on your urban community part on page 124. It says it has many people, jobs. What else? It's written here for you on page 124 under urban community. Helen. No. It has many people, jobs, blank, and kinds of what? It's written right here in your textbook. Jeremiah. Okay, so and kinds of transportation, but it has many people, jobs. What is the thing missing? Jeremiah. There you go. So let's move to rural. Rural. My mouth does not want to say it. It's a weird one. Rural. Meaning more of a country area where there are lots of agriculture. Many people were what? That at the time, many people in rural areas were dentists, lawyers, doctors, what? Gabe. Ding, 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 ding. Yes, farmers is the answer. Its towns are blank than cities. If you're in a rural area, you are in a smaller community, correct? So its towns are going to be what? Winsheen. Smaller. I need everyone to be looking in their books and following along. Feet on the ground and focusing. Feet on the ground and focusing, please. All right, complete each sentence. So we are talking about both urban and rural communities had what? You're going to find this on the bottom of page 124. Both urban and rural communities had a what service? Tessa. Posto. But not right away. Like in our book today we read, they did not have many postal services. I don't even know if they had a postal service in that little town they went to. Maybe they did, but that all came later. Because you had to have a way to transport the mail, correct? A man-made waterway that connects two bodies of water is called a... Olivia. A canal. The Great Lakes are connected to the Atlantic Ocean by what? Coal. Well, a particular one. They belong, on your page 125, the government built the what to connect the Great Lakes and the Atlantic Ocean. It's on the middle of page 125. I need everyone to be looking, please, for the answer. Do not have your friends do all your work. I need participation by all. McKenna. The Erie Canal. Moving people and goods became easier with the invention of what? We just got done talking about it. These things were in trains and boats. James. Steam engine. Okay, in time, the railroad became the main means of what in America? Everyone should be looking in their book for the answers. In time, the railroad became the main means of what in America? Tyson.
Oh, this question online.
Okay.
Like,
Number 5, right?
Yes. Yes, Tyson.
transportation.
Very good. You are correct. Transportation. The railroad friends, when they discovered, created, and made the railroad system, it changed everything in this country. Because you could get to the far regions of the West, get to California, all the way to Virginia.
Wow.
Once they plowed through the Rocky Mountains with the rail systems, it changed everything. Think how fast you can get goods from California to North Carolina, or from Washington to Florida. Life changer. All right, this is what we're going to do. You are going to pack up.
Just read.
Yes.
I was reading here and here.
Oh, what did you do? Ouch, do you need a Band-Aid?